What's going on, people, and welcome to a brand new episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time, where I get to speak to incredible creators from all across the globe. Now, we've started a Discord, so make sure you come and join us. We are doing a competition specifically just for people who join the Discord. It's fine if you're already there, you can still join the competition. And we are back on your favorite podcasting services, so you can listen to us on Spotify, whatever. But if you're over there, make sure you come to the YouTube and give us a thumbs up and give us a like. Now, one of the things I really love about Too Many Games is when I get to meet a creative that I've never met before, someone that I don't even know too much about, but their vibe is turn up, we can talk about games, and I'm super excited. So we are inviting the one and only Harvey Newman onto Too Many Games. What's going on, my G? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Ah, man, what an intro. Thanks for inviting me, Midas. You know, it's been a minute. I've been watching your stuff, your energy. You know what I mean? Your energy is everything. So, like, you know, I appreciate your work and the work that you're doing for all the gamers out there, man. As a game developer, I appreciate that.
Harvey, thank you so much for the kind words. Now, we met via YouTube, and one of the things that I love about this space is there's so many hungry people, and people are like, look, I want to network, I want to get stuff done. And I'm one of those people. Like, one of my biggest strengths is my network and my communicational skills. And instantly I was like, rah, I got a podcast, do you want to jump out? And you was on it. No long thing, no back and forth. Let's just get it done.
Do it.
So we got you here, and we're going to talk about some games. So let's take you back. I want to talk about little Harvey. You get me? When you was a little man. Tell me about your initial gaming experience. What's the games that really made you say, wow, this gaming thing is amazing?
Oh man, damn! I go back, man. I might have a baby face, but like I'm 42 years old as of 2 weeks ago. So
black like, don't crack, my G. I love to see it. Black don't crack.
So yeah, no, I go back to the N64 game, NES times, even Spectrum 128K.
Oh, you're taking it back, man.
Way back.
Spectrum, you know.
Way back, man. I used to actually play games, Manic Miner. You know what I mean? Like it was good times. So first game that actually absolutely made me love games, and I remember perfectly that I'm like, this has legs. It was Mario 64. To this day, I remember the reviews, like reviewers around the world, like going like, we never give 100 to a game, 100 out of 100. We're gonna give Mario 64 that, and it was basically the game that gave us 3D. You know what I mean? Like playable 3D that you could actually, Sony tried it and stuff, but it was a mess, give you headaches and stuff. But Mario, man, they just nailed it. I mean, typical Nintendo, you know what I mean?
What's funny is I thought you was going to take me back to something like Alex the Kid. I thought you was going to take me back to something like Wonder Boy. But it's so interesting what you say about Mario 64, because at that time, like Nintendo led the charge when it came to 3D platformers.
100%.
And then Sega came in with Sonic and stuff, and they kind of really changed the game of it. And then when Sony came, that was a time when no one really knew what a 3D platformer was meant to be. And you had things like Crash Bandicoot, where it's kind of following you behind. And Nintendo being Nintendo, like you said, they just think so much out the box. And the N64, even down to the controller, a lot of people cuss it, but that analog stick was mind-blowing. Like, what a lot of people don't realize is, like, the first PlayStation didn't have an analog stick. Like, there wasn't analog sticks before that. It was D-pad. And they came with this analog stick, and you was literally Mario running around a castle and then jumping in pictures to go to a new world. Like, how was your mind blown the first time you jumped into one of those paintings?
It was incredible, man. That was when that was the first time, I remember perfectly. That was the first time that I looked up who made this game, who was the game director, the guy that actually came up with these ideas. Then that's when I started respecting Miyamoto, you know what I mean? Because it's very much like Apple. Like, if this happens, it needs to happen for a reason, and it needs to be fun and be reactive to the player, and the player needs to feel something. That's when I was like, you know what, this games is much more than just fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought into it.
And what's crazy as well is, because I was talking about this on a recent episode of Too Many Games, that like PlayStation, like I'm a big PlayStation gamer. I started as a Nintendo. Well, funny enough, I started as a Sega kid, then I became like Nintendo.
Sega Saturn?
No, I
Mega
started
Drive?
with Master System.
Master System.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So Master System 2, Alex the Kid inside, you get me? Inside the thing and everything there.
Classic.
And then I went to a Nintendo, and it was all about Nintendo until I got the PlayStation. And like, I love PlayStation. PlayStation and Nintendo are the two consoles that I always champion. But people always talk about how iconic the PlayStation 1 was, which it was. But the N64 was incredible. Like, could you imagine the N64? And I've said this before, but I don't care. I'm repeating myself. The N64 had Mario 64. It had Ocarina of Time.
GoldenEye.
It had GoldenEye.
Right.
It had Banjo-Kazooie. Like, it had F-Zero. It had Mario Kart 64. Like, it had some of the greatest games that ever were made, and all of those games now kind of really replicated. Like, I am the biggest Zelda fan, and Breath of the Wild is the first Zelda game that's made me question if Ocarina of Time is not my favorite game. No other game in the series has been able to talk to Ocarina of Time.
I couldn't. And do you remember the graphics when the Nintendo 64 came out? Because the graphics, that silky smooth graphics that everybody was looking at the cartridge going like, how can they actually, you know what I mean? Because you're used to the NES cartridge, because it was like just like, you know, pixels and stuff. But all of a sudden you have Donkey Kong looking real nice, right? Mario 64 looking real nice.
Harvey, do you remember you and 3 of your brethren could be in one room together playing a game at the same time?
GoldenEye all the way, man.
Golden Gun.
Couch co-op.
Yeah,
it's
like
all about that life.
Just like
100%, 100%.
It was a different look. You can tell we're oldies. Like we're just we're just in our zone.
And you know what else was awesome? The peripherals of the Nintendo 64. Remember that bazooka that they had? I never seen that before. You know what I'm saying? That was really, really cool.
Well, just talking about peripherals, the N64 is what invented Rumble, because they had the Rumble pack that you pushed in the bottom. So yeah, Nintendo revolutionized stuff, and people take things that Nintendo do and like, because I always say, like, I love my PlayStation 5, and I say the best thing about the PlayStation 5 is the DualSense controller. And the DualSense just feels like a grown-up Nintendo controller. Feels like something Nintendo would do, and they've taken stuff from everything Nintendo done, but taking it onto another level.
Well, here's the thing though, and I know that we're actually going off topic here, but I think that this new PS5 controller is the best invention since the original controller. And I feel like Sony has been on just making hardware better so you can have better graphics. But arguably, since the very first PS1, right, you didn't really had anything that was genuinely like, you know, groundbreaking. Right, with any console, because they all look the same, they're just more powerful. It's been like that all the time, and finally they actually made something that was like, everybody's like, man, this feels like the next gen of controllers, right?
But what's really weird is Sony did kind of do that, but they did it in their own way. So if you think back to the original PlayStation, a lot of people was using that for games and for playing music. And then when we had our PlayStation 2, people were using that for DVDs and playing games. Like, that was a lot of people's first DVD player.
That is most people did. Most people did this.
Yeah, most people
did. That was actually like when people actually was like, "Oh, you want to play DVDs? Should I get a PlayStation or a DVD player?"
Exactly. Like, most people that was their DVD player. So they was, even though they had that and then Blu-ray, so they have. But I feel like that's the first time they revolutionize controllers, which is super dope. Completely. So Harry, how did you decide? Obviously you said Mario was something that really made you look into who makes games and who creates this thing. When did you get to the point where you're like, do you know what, I actually want to work in this industry? This isn't something that I just want to do from a spectator view.
Yeah. So I actually 2002, I think it was, London. So I was actually working retail at that point, like bad jobs and stuff. Can you curse here, by the way?
Yeah, say what you want to say.
Ah, cool. So shit job, shit job, like earning like very little money. And I had a friend of a friend that actually worked QA, right?
Okay.
And at that point in time, pretty much, I mean, there was not a lot of phones and anything. There's still Nokias and Samsungs, and like the internet was pretty much non-existent. So, like you just can call somebody and be like, can you actually get me a job in the place that you actually work? And at that point, it was actually the first job that I got. It was doing certification. So for those that don't know, basically when you develop a game, both Microsoft and PlayStation, they have a certification process that developers have to follow a huge book of rules.
Yeah, to get on the platform.
To get on the platform, yeah. But for that to pass, they have a massive amount of testers that actually have to play the game to find bugs, right? To actually try to break the game as much as possible so they can actually rectify anything big. So I was one of those, right? I got a job as one of those. And to me, it felt like the best job ever. Like they pay me money to actually play games 8 hours a day, every single day for a week. And I was like, man, this is life. This is the life right now. I'm living my dream. So I started doing that. And it was funny that when I started doing it, because it was contract work, they would only call you if you were a good gamer, right?
Ah.
Yeah. So you would have to actually finish a game within at least a couple of days. And I'm talking about like 20-hour games or something like that. You have to finish in like ridiculous amount of time. And on top of that, find bugs, like critical bugs that actually might be game breaking. So they actually can catch it before it goes into the public. So it became a very much a competition thing, even though you have your mates and stuff, but very much like the couch co-op that we had back in N64. It was all about like, I'm better than you in this, but you are better than I in this, racing, whatever. And it was actually the first time that you played Xbox Live. You know, remember when everybody started playing like online games and stuff. So there was a lot of fun. I remember playing Knights of the Old Republic. So I QA'd that. I QA'd Halo 2, for example, and games like that went to become like classics, right? So that was the first time that I actually got into it. But then I realized that it was very sporadic, right? So around Christmas time was a lot of work. January, February, March, there was no work. So then you have to find another gig and all these things. So through other friends that we actually got, I finally got a job at Sega, actually working full-time QA. And that actually kind of took me like about 3 years of actually working QA and all that stuff. So played many games there, tested many games, Rome and Football Manager, the very first Football Manager. I was there doing all kinds of stuff. And there was many more. What I found though is for everybody that wants to get into QA or RQA right now is that even though QA is absolutely crucial to games, you don't really necessarily feel full-time part of development. You feel a part of the team, but not really.
Secondary.
Yeah, because you're just finding bugs. You're not actively putting things into game that make the game better, right?
Yeah.
And after a few years in QA, you can definitely tell that, right? So that is basically what actually made me go, I want to get into this proper. I want to get into this deep, and I want to make a difference in the game properly. But you know, at that point, I had played many games and all that stuff. I just realized that QA life was, I needed more than the QA life.
That's a dope transition. So obviously you've progressed in your career. So if there's anyone who's brand new to you and don't really know too much about what you're currently doing or what you're doing, let the people them know.
Aye, man. So currently I'm actually doing YouTube, and I'm actually like doing online teaching and like doing all kinds of mentorships and stuff. But previously I was an animation director, right? And like my story goes all the way back to like, I don't know, do you play Dead Space?
Do you know what? I haven't played it yet. I'm looking forward to the remake.
It's good, man.
Yeah, I'm gassed for the remake. I can't even lie.
Yeah. No, it's a good game. It's a good game. But yeah, no, yeah, like it goes all the way back. So I started in 2008 or something like that, working in animation. So basically, I actually did a university, studied university full time, worked QA full time, which was kind of bonkers. But I managed to transition after a few years into animation. Started working in games as an animator. And then I started working, for example, the GoldenEye reboot that came out for the Wii.
Yeah, trash.
Yeah, exactly. So I worked on that. So that was my first game that I actually went in, and it was actually a really nice experience because like you get to work in a game that you're passionate about. It's like, oh man, I remember these levels, but now you have to do them with Daniel Craig, right? And I'm like, it's not Pierce Brosnan, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel the same way. But at least you get to revive some of those moments, but as a developer instead of being a gamer, right? So you kind of feel like you made it. And then it kind of just went on from there. So from then on, I actually worked on Crysis. I worked on Homefront. I went to work on Fable. I worked on Horizon, Total War, Warhammer, Battlefield, Battlefront. I moved around a lot, and I've been in a lot of studios, a lot of AAA studios over the years.
Your resume is sick, my G. So sick, man. Super proud of what you're doing. And really, one of the things that I love the most about you is like you're hella humble. Like you're super humble, super nice guy. And your resume is crazy. All right.
Thanks, man.
We need to talk a bit more about games before we run out of time. We're only a short form podcast. The last couple years have been incredible for gaming. Like the experience, like we're old school, going back from like we're talking about games like Alex the Kid and stuff like Wonder Boy and Golden Axe to where we are in gaming now.
Damn.
Those real cinematic games. What are 2 games of the last, let's say, 10 years? You can even take it down to 5 that have really blown you away in both a creative standpoint and also just the love of gaming.
Oh man, tough question. This is like asking for top 5 rappers.
No, it doesn't. No, just 2 games. It doesn't. I'm not asking your favorite. I just want 2 games that stand out to you from the pack. They don't have to be your favorite. Just 2 that stand out from the pack.
2 that stand out. So first, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild for sure, for obvious reasons. I know you're a big Zelda fan as well, so you understand this. But as a game developer, seeing it from a games developer perspective, that game does so much with so little, right? I mean, the platform Nintendo Switch is not a PS5, right? Yet they managed to cram a world that arguably feels bigger than any other world that you lived in, that you played in. And it kind of like gives you fun from beginning to end. And all game mechanics, the design of the game is fun. And it's like typical Nintendo, I should say. But it's like, it's fun no matter what you do. If you're climbing walls, you're having fun. If you're shooting your bow, you're having fun. If you're riding your horse, you're having fun. And it just feels like a wholesome game, and you get super into it. I mean, Zelda's always been that way. You always shed a tear when you get to the end of the Zelda games because it's emotional and you feel really connected to the game. But Breath of the Wild took it to a whole new level, and I have to respect the craft and the dedication that they had for that, man.
Yeah, the game is amazing. Like, no pun intended, but it is properly a breath of fresh air. Like, I've been playing Zelda games from, I think my first Zelda game was A Link to the Past, old school, and I love the lore, I love the music, and I'm a story gamer. That's what grabs me. And the story of Breath of the Wild is secondary. It's not even the lead thing. But I enjoy every moment of that game. That game is so special. And Nintendo is just literally, when Nintendo are great, no one can talk to them.
No one can touch them. No.
Yeah, and that's them at their Nintendo being great. All right, give me one more. One that's really stood out to you as well.
God of War, the remake of God of War. And I say this as a fan of the original God of War and playing it, but like the best thing about God of War, and the thing that actually makes me more excited, is that the game director was an ex-animator. So it makes me feel good about myself and about my career choices.
Man like Corey, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Corey. So Corey Barlog used to be an animator. And the thing about animation is that you actually see a lot of things through visual and also narrative, right? And you can see a lot of that through God of War. And the attention to detail, the attention to the animations, the game mechanics, everything works beautifully.
I think one of the things that is taken for granted and not mentioned enough in that game is how you seamlessly go from the beginning to the end. Like literally, it's just it's mad.
Yeah, and they've done that before, but not to this quality. And animation-wise, that is a nightmare, because like I don't know if you know this, but you have to match every single animation to each other so they can actually kind of like go back to idle and things. So you press a button, you do something, you come back. You need to do that with cutscenes as well, in order to make sure that as soon as you finish something, you're actually ready to actually go into a cutscene to then go back into gameplay, so you don't have any cuts whatsoever. It takes you twice as long to make a game that way. It's incredible.
Yeah, the game is insane. I can't even lie, like, I'm a big PlayStation guy, and I feel like The Last of Us really changed what a first-party PlayStation game is. And Corey really was like, do you know what? I can tell an adult story within God of War. And God of War's always obviously had adult themes, but it was just the over-the-top violence or sexual themes. And he was like, no, I can actually tell a real story, a real father and son story with this gruff, harsh man in one game. And it was just
completely
just heartwarming.
And you know what he did? He did two things there that actually makes a huge difference. First, you know how you feel about Zelda when you play Twilight Princess or Ocarina of Time, that you feel get to the end and you feel emotional. And like you feel connected. You're sad that you're no longer going to have to actually be in this with this character in this world, because it's been a good journey. He did that with God of War, and not many Western studios can do that, right? Yeah, and that's pretty amazing. And the second thing I think is that, man, my mind just went blank.
Do you know what, Harvey?
It's fine.
Do you know what? That's a good way to end. We've actually gone over time.
Oh yeah,
like we've gone over the time.
Sorry.
But do you know what? That was such a good chat. I really enjoyed having you on the podcast. I'd love to invite you to come back on.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Or make you come back on the channel, because it was really, really great speaking to you.
Anytime.
If you want the people, if someone's feeling your vibe, if they're like, you know what, Harvey, he seems like a cool brother, I'm feeling the energy, I'm feeling the vibe, and you want people to come and connect with you and reach out to you, where should they come to check you out?
Just Google Harvey Newman. You're gonna get me, most likely, first page, or just go into my website, harveynewman.com, and you can find the links there, instead of just giving you like all kinds of social networks.
Yeah, mate, website there, and you can go everywhere you want. Thank you for joining us so much on another episode of Too Many Games and Not Enough Time. Remember, if you're listening to us on a podcast service, come over to the YouTube channel, give a thumbs up, give a like, make sure you go and check out Harvey's stuff. You can see from the chat how much of a dope creator he is. His CV is mad, but he's super humble, so he's always down for chats. Remember, join the Discord. We have a huge competition going on the channel right now, but we're doing an exclusive competition for people who come to join the Discord as well. He's been Harvey. I've been Mr. Midas. You've been the MVPs. And we out of here. Peace.